Welcome to the Irrelevant Podcast. I'm Nathan Jones with my co-host Alex Lewis. Today, episode 63 here. We have a special guest, Lauren Tomlin, with us today from the wonderful world of Florida, it sounds like, enjoying the wonderful weather down there. So, Lauren, if you don't mind, just go ahead, just give a little introduction about yourself. Tell people who you are, how you came to be in the health and fitness world, and why you wanted to stick your nose into this industry that seems to be so convoluted.
Very convoluted. Hello, everybody. I'm Lauren, and I'm still in the health realm. I'm in the middle of a pivot, but I originally got into it through my own health and fitness journey, picking up a passion for training. I became a personal trainer and did one-on-one and small group classes for about a year and a half, and just loved connecting with people on that level. But obviously along the journey, realized that it's more than just those 30-minute, 45-minute sessions. And I pursued getting into the mindset, the habits, the nutrition, and that, along with a whole bunch of other life redirections, led me to being a health and fitness coach for women. So mainly working with Gen Pop, a lot of moms, but also moms to be and perimenopausal in general. And yeah, that's kind of how I got here, just through living my own life and picking up a passion and knowing that this is a field that a lot of people need a lot of help in.
That's funny that okay, so Alex will not work with Gen Pop. I don't mind working with Gen Pop.
Not that I won't. I'm just very picky.
So what kind of led you to seeing, was it just the need that you saw and the passion there that you had for that specific thing? Or was there like a life event that kind of moved you in that direction to want to work with those type of women in particular? Or what kind of pushed you towards that specific area?
That's an amazing question. For me, it was definitely a life event. And obviously I've made so many connections with different health coaches, and I think together we're able to help a wide variety of people. I think it all stems down to where, our personal, let me just put y'all, I need to mute these people. Sorry. I think it's just like how we individually develop as humans and where we kind of find our groove. And for me, a lot of my life experience has led to the realization that the group of women that I do enjoy working with and that I feel the most fulfilled with are typically the ones who are getting in their own way the most. And while a lot of people do not find digging that deep to be as exciting or fulfilling, knowing the experiences that I have gone through, as well as the women that I've worked with, that is what fuels my passion. So it's essentially just me kind of stumbling through life and finding my way and pulling myself out of a lot of shit that makes me realize how capable these women are, and they just don't realize it. So kind of made it my mission to help pull them out of it and show them that they are more than capable of accomplishing anything that they hope and dream of.
That's my wife. So we have an 11-month-old now. So my wife has been through that fairly recently and like exposed to that, obviously, after experience and gone through some of those things. And I would classify my wife as being extremely tough and extremely tough-minded and extremely like a go-getter. And she was fully on about like, I'm not going to let it get me. I'm not going to let it get me. I'm not going to let like any of this stuff happen or any of this stuff kind of get me or any things like that. But so she's struggling with like this next stage of life of like, how do I keep training with the baby now? And like, I'm getting a little bit older and I'm starting to get into these stages. And she's like, I just want to keep training and keep training and keep training. So how do you kind of shift people's mindsets away from women in general, or maybe just people in general, of like, you can still be like strong and you can still be fit and you can still get after all the goals that you want to chase, even into your later years?
That's a tough one because I feel like it is so individualized based on that person's current life circumstances and perspectives. I think a lot of women that I work with come to me initially with that all or nothing mindset, or they are trying to force themselves into a lifestyle that used to work for them that does not work for their current circumstances. So they're beating themselves up and they're shaming themselves for not having the actual time. And as a mom to a 4.5-year-old, I get it. Like, I don't have the physical time to devote 6 days to the gym like I did when I was 22 and, just basically working and then spending the rest of my time either drinking whiskey or at the gym. That was my life back then. So I think it's helping them to let go of the previous version of themselves, as well as let go of that all or nothing perfectionist mindset, because we all know perfectionism isn't really a thing. It's more so people procrastinating. It's a way to justify. But I think it all comes down to them kind of letting go of their past version and kind of creating a super clear vision of where they actually want to go and what is practical that they can accomplish consistently, and just clearing our mind of the expectation of what that outcome is going to be. The journey is the journey, right? So we have to kind of detach. We can do short-term goals, that's super fun, but getting them to understand that this is a way of life and we do these things for much, like far beyond aesthetics, and helping them to really figure out what works for them on a week to week, month to month, year to year basis, and just keeping them in the game, keeping them positive.
Lauren, you mentioned that you like to go into the deeper mindset stuff with people. What was it that drew you to wanting to coach people in that particular capacity as opposed to just like training them physically?
Life. Life. I, long story short, I have lived a lot of different lives in my 35 years. And I have met and left a lot of versions of myself. And there were a lot of dark places that I led myself. I didn't realize that at the time, though. I was unconscious to it. And I think going through those experiences and then just basically surrendering to, okay, I am the problem. Like, I am attracting all of this bullshit. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
As much as you want.
Okay, cool. Because I'm gonna cuss. But yeah, I think just like finally just being like, why the fuck do I keep finding myself in these issues or in these abusive relationships or neglecting my health? And I kept blaming it on everything. And then I realized, oh, it's me. So I've done a lot of work internally to myself, and I've reached a place that I'm very, very proud of. I own my shit. I love myself. There's nobody that can convince me that I'm not loved, I'm not worthy. And that mindset would basically heal the world if everyone could tap into it. So I think it was just me experiencing the darkest places for myself and finding myself in such a hopeless mindset so many times to where I finally was able to kind of figure out the formula. And the formula is us. We're always in our own way. So it's just digging in and figuring out, like, what are the limiting beliefs? What are the traumas, generational traumas? What is societal programming that we need to kind of break down and reestablish for ourselves as individuals? That those conversations are the ones that gets me completely fired up. So that's
Makes
a
sense.
short
And you
answer.
don't look like you're 35, so that's impressive. Well done there.
Thank you.
But when it comes to inner work and people constantly avoiding it, what are some things that you normally have clients do in the beginning to start shifting their mind towards that type of thing and understanding that that's really where the brunt of what they have to do is going to come from that inner work?
So this is the area that I'm pivoting in right now, because I am wanting to get in even deeper than I have previously. And I'm testing some things out with clients currently. So I'm kind of establishing a new framework, a new system, if you will. But I pretty much offer that at the very beginning, like even on a consultation call. I ask some questions about their beliefs, their confidence, their ability to follow through on what they say they're going to. And we start to initially uncover those things during the consultation. And I am a very open person. So I think that is a gift because people feel very safe usually in opening up to me. I've always been one of those people that I get to know a stranger and they're telling me their whole life story in like 10 minutes. So I just receive their story and I validate them for being where they currently are. And then I get them to visualize where they'd actually want to go. And then from there, we start to just kind of break down what is getting in the way, and they usually lead themselves to the conclusion that there's a lot that they could be doing differently if they were thinking differently, and that just opens up their journey to diving into the abyss that is within.
Do you ever have some clients that you just kind of like bang your head against the wall as far as like, okay, we've been over this. 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 And just, where is the kind of line with you and where people kind of have to dig themselves out of it and where you'll consistently like continue to, because obviously you're going to keep pushing them in the right direction and coaching them in the right direction. But where is that final cutoff point where you're just like, or is there even a cutoff point for you where you're like, okay, we've been over this 100 times. I can't help you. You're going to just kind of have to pick yourself up and continue to do something else. I don't know. Like, where's that line kind of with you where it's like, I can't help you anymore?
I have a line. I definitely do have a line. In my own journey, I've realized that we all resonate with different people. We're all meant to reach and connect with and help serve people, not everyone. I don't think we should try to be focused on saving the world. I think we should be trying to focus on saving our own world, and that affects those around us and connects us to the people that we are meant to work with. So again, it starts all from the beginning of the client journey, just establishing what the expectations are, asking them what they expect of me, letting them know what I expect of them, making sure that we're in agreement. And for those that are resistant, because I have a few that are a little resistant, and I also can kind of see where I attracted them, because these are clients that I have had for like a year, and I've asked them, like, why are you paying me? Like, we've talked about this for 6 weeks now, and there's been no needle. And I always look within first. I think I like to take accountability and see if there's a different approach or if there is a different focus, because I think when people start to gain momentum, even if it is the smallest step, it knocks them out of a state of inertia, right? It's physics. So I feel like I first try to change my approach. I try to shift the focus maybe to something that would be easier for them to accomplish. I've had clients with a goal of like making their bed every day for 7 days. So it could start off very small. And the ones where it's just like, I've tried what I feel like is everything, I've exhausted my solutions, I have asked them, like, why are you paying me? And I've not had one that was like, you're right, let me quit. It's kind of like that wake up moment. And I've also got into 2 conversations that I can think of where I put it on them and I said, commit or quit. Like, I want this for you. I can't want this more than you want it. I can sit here, and I don't even consider myself as a coach anymore. Labels to me are kind of weird at this point, but I'm not giving you the solution. I'm using like this knowledge that I really like learning about, and then wisdom from experience and my own perspectives. But at the end of the day, like, it's your path, it's your journey. You have to do the work. And if you don't want it, that's fine. There's good for you. Like, go find what else you want to work on. But my time is valuable, and I want to help. And if I'm not meant to help that person, I need to clear the way so I can help the next person. So I've had to have a couple of difficult conversations where I've just said, make the decision. Tell me next week. If you're not on the check-in call, okay. And yeah, I've not had one person just like up and bounce, but I definitely have some that are like, I'm getting something out of this and I don't want to lose you, but that's still something that I'm kind of working through in terms of where I'm pivoting next. So
that's when you said, I can't want this more for you. Like, as a coach, sometimes we get stuck in this place of like, you're wanting to do everything you possibly can, and you're doing everything you possibly can, and you want it so bad for this person, and you're working so hard for this person, and you see what this person can become and what their potential is and what their ceiling is, and there's one little thing or one little hang up, or they're not training as much as they need to, or they're not eating the way that they need to, or there's just one little thing keeping them from like really taking off. And I think that's really good, and shows that you're a really good coach, obviously, because when you care that much that you're just like, I want to help you so badly, but I can't. And I think that's a good sign of a lot of good coaches, because we all bang our heads against the wall at times of like, I really, really want to help you, but you can't get out of your own way. So I'm going to sit back and just be like, when you're ready to cooperate, I'll cooperate with you. But so I had the same thought with a couple of my clients the other day. So it's funny that you said it, because I'm like, man, that gets so frustrating at times. So good. It's tough. That's really, really tough for sure.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's that balance of us being so passionate about helping them that we then sometimes lose. Like we're essentially we're wasting our most precious resource, which is our time and our energy. And everyone has their own cocoon. I have a theory on cocoons. I talk about them quite frequently, but everyone has I can't break somebody out of that. That's like a process that they've got to decide if they're going to let themselves go through their transformation, but they're ultimately the ones. And I think one of the reasons too that I can get in pretty deep with people is that I'm very vulnerable. So I have no problem sharing like all of the shit that I've gotten myself into. And I say sometimes in my case, I had to hit multiple rock bottoms to get my shit together. Like, and I don't want to see other people hit that rock bottom, but sometimes you have to fall. Like if you're not taking in the guidance of someone who's walked this path and who genuinely wants to help you to the bottom of her soul, come back to me when you fall, and I hope it didn't hurt too bad.
Well, it's good to know that there's a lot of coaches out there like that. And then it's good to know that you're still fighting the good fight. Alex and I fight the good fight as well, but I don't know that we fight it on the level that you fight it on sometimes, or as compassionately as you do sometimes, but we do care.
Go to the same depths. I'm just not as compassionate. I don't have patience. Not gonna lie.
There it is. It's patience. It's not compassion. It's just patience. Your compassion showed in a different way, Alex.
Yeah, I get to the point where it's like, I'm not gonna put more in than you are. So if you're not gonna do it, then why would I do it?
Correct.
Like, I'll meet you where you're at, and if it works for you, then cool. But if not, then well, that sucks. Like, there's just I don't know.
I think that's very admirable. That is the energy that I'm currently working on harnessing for myself, is just knowing the impact and the purpose that I have. And again, just knowing that my time and my energy is very valuable, and I can't want it more than you. And I think learning how to establish that boundary and maybe have, for me, a little bit less patience because my purpose is so important to me. So I think that's a very admirable trait that you have, Alex.
Thank you. Well, it's just one of those things where time is finite, and I've seen so many people waste it and not take advantage of the time that they do have for it to be either cut short or, whatever it may be. And it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, every time you get to wake up, it's kind of a blessing. So if you don't make the most of it, then like, you don't know if you get tomorrow. That's not really guaranteed as much as people like to think it is.
I agree.
But back to your theory on cocoons, may we hear what this theory is? Because I'm intrigued.
Okay. So a little bit about the butterfly. So what I find butterfly is just beautiful. I think I feel like all of nature is beautiful in its own unique way, but butterflies have always resonated with me. And my grandmother passed when I think I was 16, and we did a butterfly ceremony for her. And so I think since then, I've just always been drawn to butterflies. And when I'm out in the woods, sometimes doing recreational activities to connect to the earth, I always have butterflies. Like, it's like a butterfly. A butterfly will always show. I always see a butterfly, and like 90% of the time I always see an owl. But so I've always felt connected to butterflies. So I researched them, and I find them so intriguing because we all know that a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. A lot of people don't know that in that process of the metamorphosis, if you were to break open the cocoon before it's ready, there's literally just goo. Like, there's not a bug, there's not a butterfly, it's just goo. So then, and the caterpillar actually goes through this process. It's like, I'm going to digest my body and break it down to what is called imaginal cells. And then it builds itself back up into the butterfly. It also has to break free of the cocoon on its own time because it gains the strength to fly from breaking out itself. So if somebody was to help it out, it would die. It wouldn't have the strength and the resilience. And then on top of it, the kicker is that we look at the caterpillar and we're just like, okay, that's just like a worm with legs. Then we see these butterflies and we're like, they're so magical, it's so beautiful. The butterfly still like thinks it's a freaking caterpillar that can fly. Like it doesn't even see its own wings because of where its eyes are. So it's just flying around and we're all admiring its beauty and just like the process that it actually put itself through to become this butterfly. And it can't even acknowledge it. And I don't know if y'all are into like auras or anything like that, but you can't see your own aura. Like you can't physically, you can try, but you can't. And I feel like that is literally a symbolism of people. If we allow ourselves to basically go within, fucking just get rid of yourself, do the work to create something very beautiful. And rather than being worried about what you look like to other people, just be, and people will be so inspired by you. And you don't need that validation, just fucking fly, right? And that's how we impact other people. That's how I see the human process. And I think this life is one big cocoon. I think whatever we become, but that's beyond, right? But I think in the process of this human life, we have all these mini cocoons. And it's like, how aware are you to that? Are you leaning into that when you're being called to reframe your perspective? Because I think one small perspective shift can propel us into a completely different life, a completely different timeline. So I think there's a lot of mini cocoons into one major cocoon. But it's just, are you going to allow it to happen? And are you willing to get rid of the parts that are not serving you and turn them into imaginal selves and recreate something else that's absolutely beautiful?
You found through doing your inner work that these recreational activities you speak of in the forest, that they are like your own mini cocoons when you come out of it?
To an extent. So recreational activities would be psilocybin. And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be honest. Like I don't even think I'm like on some major acid trip.
Listen, you don't have to clarify. We've had enough people on here that have talked enough about their experiences with drug and recreational activities. It's fine, totally fine.
Yeah.
I only ramble about it only every other episode.
No judgment to anybody tripping on acid.
Not at all.
That, but this
no,
is not
this is a safe place. Safe place.
Yes, I love it. But I use psilocybin pretty intentionally most of the time. I think there's a balance. I think sometimes we're just here to connect, have a good time. But to me, it's a tool. It is not the answer. So, and like I said, there's a lot of times I get into nature and I'm just completely clear. But it is something that has kind of opened up my mind and shown me different ways to look at things. And I think if the way we look at the world changes, that's how we change our world. So I think it aids me, but I don't think it is the thing that creates those cocoons for me. I think life does. And I think just being very connected with myself, very aware, and like not being afraid to call myself out on bullshit, or if I have somebody that I care about or that I look up to, I let them call me on my bullshit. I try to put my defenses down and actually see it from a different lens, and then look and do shadow work, which would be like looking within to find the root of that and where it came from. And then allowing myself to get rid of it. If it doesn't serve me, get the fuck out of here. Bye. I've got work to do. So I guess to your answer, it would be that the mushrooms help. They're a tool, but it's not needed.
That's fair. That's why I was connecting it to the inner work, because it seems like if you don't do the inner work beforehand, then you can't utilize them as the tool that you're speaking of. And that's why I think most people end up using them recreationally, thinking that something good is going to happen. And in my experience, that ends up being a bad trip, because your set and setting are by far the most important part of the whole experience. And if you don't have the right mindset and you're in a bad setting, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that was my first experience. Oh.
So I did not personally try them until I was 31, I think. And then I dipped my toe. Like it was just microdosing and just kind of getting you, because I had only seen people use them as a party drug, and I was like, oh, it's not really for me. But so my relationship with them has always been intentional. But I completely agree. Like there's been so many times where I'm like, if the world could all just trip balls at the same time, we would solve problems. But that's not true, because there's a lot of people who have not done that work to be able to be in a place where they could actually help. It would probably create more problems for them, to be quite honest. I don't think that there's something to take lightly. I think we need to respect them. So yeah, 100% agree. I wish that would be true, because if so, I would just sprinkle fairy dust on everybody, but I don't think that would solve the problems.
It's funny you mentioned that. I had a client who takes people through these ceremonies, and he was telling me that sometimes they can be so evolved or invoked in their ego that it won't let go and allow them to actually get the part that they're supposed to get. And like he does this with like high level CEOs or like soldiers that have PTSD, things like this. And he's like, sometimes if they don't do any of the inner work, then they'll think everything is fixed and hunky dory because they feel good the next day, but actually nothing has changed. It's like,
I love that you said that, because that is something that I've learned as well. I've seen a lot of friends get kind of, you obviously can't get addicted to them chemically, but they get addicted to like the experiences, the feelings, but they're not integrating what they're learning because they're trapped in that ego. And again, I think that just comes down to awareness and using them as a tool, and just like, you gotta let go of some shit and you gotta integrate some shit. Like that's the magic. It's not the actual medicine itself. It's going to be completely useless if someone cannot actually integrate what they're trying to teach us.
And no, I think you're spot on with the integration thing, because that's what he says with his clients. He's like, they'll go through these ceremonies and then they don't integrate anything that we've talked about or gone over or what they've maybe been shown during these things. And it's like nothing changes. And then you have like a whole part of society now that thinks it's like a cool thing to do. So they'll have like these parties that they consider to be a ceremony when it's not really a ceremony, because the intent that they have is not correct and they're not in the right setting. And so it ends up becoming, like you said, a party drug. And it's like, well, it's not really a party drug. Like, the most terrifying party drug, if that's what you're calling a fucking party drug.
That's not a part. That's not a. I've only done it one time, and it was at a party, and it was when I was younger, and it was not a good experience at all whatsoever. And so I've never attempted or want to attempt it again. So like, what are some of the things you guys are talking about? Like, so explain. Like, you just gotta. Okay, just explain like inner workings. Like, explain that to me. What do I need to do if I was to ever try to make this experience better for myself in the future? If I'm a complete noob.
If you're a complete noob, I would recommend looking up Paul Stamets and looking at his microdosing protocol, as well as he has like a lot of different talks, but he kind of goes into mushrooms, how he's he's basically like the mushroom pioneer. I would consider him. And
he was just on Rogan's podcast last week.
Actually. Was he?
Yeah, I thought that
for like the second time.
I thought that name sounded familiar. I was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. But I would look up his protocol, because he has like a specific protocol. I would get a micro scale and start slow. And I would also like start with like, just because to me, like I had even worked on, I don't think she's gonna listen to this, but I have to protect a family member, but I've been working on a family member, and she has been very cautious of anything that would be like mushrooms or anything. And it is because I have a family member who went down a path and he's no longer with us, my little brother. So I understand the fear. But I also know that she's in a place where they could be very healing and revealing. And she's under the assumption that you're going to take 0.5 and then you're just going to like completely lose your mind, because that's what she has witnessed when someone is using them recreationally and irresponsibly. But yeah, I would start off with just like, okay, let's take a little bit. You could take 0.1, okay, or even less than that. Some people start off like 0.01. I just am like, to me, anything less than a gram, we're macros, right? Anything less than a gram to me is a microdose. It's not technically the protocol. But yeah, just start out small and you'll notice like a small amount is essentially nature's Prozac. And it's something that once you start to dip your toe in and build a relationship with, you'll know when you're ready, if you are ready to go in to deeper with a higher dose. And I would advise anybody who is wanting to explore a higher dose to just make sure that your mind and your heart is in a good place. And also to be aware that they're probably going to show you things that are very uncomfortable. And if you're not willing to submit to what they're trying to show you, you're probably going to end up in the bathroom for 4 hours, crying in the shower. Yeah, that would be my advice, and that would be what to expect. Like, it essentially is just a little bit of elatedness, joy, warmth. Then you start to see brighter colors, you start to feel connected to things, and then you're Alice in Wonderland, and the experience will be very individualized.
Have you ever attempted to take a heroic dose, as Terrence McKenna would refer to it as?
So I believe that the highest dose that I've ever taken was probably a little over 5 grams.
Yes.
And I've only done that once. And it was actually a very great experience. Very great. The bad trip that I had was I was probably battling with some things in my mind, suppressing them, I think. And that was 4. But I typically stay between like 1 to 3. That's kind of my safe zone. And again, I don't use them on a daily basis. Every once in a while when I'm creating, I will use microdoses, or when I'm going out in nature, I'll do a smaller dose. I don't like to be completely disconnected from the present when I'm out in nature because that'd probably not be safe. But yeah, 1 to 3 is the little safe range for me.
My worst trip was on probably the smallest amount I've ever taken at one time, but I mixed it with my vitamins and I was in public.
Oh.
Oof, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
But I learned about everyone's energy and how you can feel it from across the fucking room.
Yeah.
Even though you're not anywhere near that. I was like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
It was very enlightening in that sense, but it was not a good time at first. Let me tell you.
Well,
That's when I
can
learned
imagine.
about how intense vitamin C is when it comes to using these things.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to take a lot, just drink some pineapple juice. It'll turn that notch up a few notches for you.
That's good to know.
Not orange juice either. That'll make your stomach flip. That's not
Yes,
good.
it will.
It's such a no. It's still a very taboo. Any weed.
You live in the backwoods of Missouri where nobody knows what's even going on. They don't even realize that there's another world out there.
It's all very, very taboo around here. So
those people need some DMT. That's what they need.
Oh, dude.
Just get them completely to the other side.
Well, every time we talk about DMT on here, everyone's always concerned that I'm gonna go find some DMT to experiment with, and I'm
you don't
I'm
get to
good.
find it. It finds you.
I'm good.
It's not something that you find.
It's not my style, folks. Calm down. It's not my style.
That's one thing the universe brings to you. You don't go find it. It'd be cool if you could do that, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I had someone offer to me at a Red Rock show, and I was like, "Here, right now? Like, no way. Like, that's terrible.
That's crazy."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So now I want to go eat some mushrooms. So hold on, guys. I'll be right back.
No, it's too late for that.
That would be like the part 2 of the podcast. We're all just like tripping balls on here. It'd be great. Listening to Disco Biscuits. Do y'all listen to Disco Biscuits?
I
do not, but I've heard of them.
I've never even heard of them.
Dude, they're life-changing. They're literally the best band. And I was never a jam band person until Disco Biscuits entered my life. And they, like, their mission is quite literally to save, they put it out there, like, we're saving the universe with our music. And nobody does it like them. Like, every single show is completely unique. Sometimes they play things in reverse. They're always playing out of order. One song, one time, maybe 3 minutes. The next time it's like 45 minutes long. And their lyrics, like, I just feel like they give humanity hope. That is like the feeling that they create. So yeah, Disco Biscuits, mushrooms, and like willing to do work, that would be the path that I would hope everyone to go down, but I'm not in charge of that.
So you're not.
I just added something to my to-do list for Red Rocks this season, so thank you.
Yes, of course.
But okay,
Yeah,
you're not Disco Biscuits and you're not changing the world with your music, but you're changing the world with what you're doing. So where
yes.
does what's your big niche? Like where's your big I can really help you, you know, is it a combination of what you do? Are you really good at one aspect? Obviously, you bring a very unique perspective to the physical and the mental side of training and things like that. So like where's your niche? Like where can you really help people if they're struggling? How are you going to save the world, Lauren?
Uh,
Doesn't have
I'm
to be
saving.
that. Doesn't have
All
to be
right.
that big, but you know what you
Yeah.
kind of see what I'm saying.
Yes. Well, like I said, I feel like if we save our world, our own world, we save, that's the work. But again, this is where I just will be very upfront. Like I am in the midst of pivoting in the way that I help. I'm still so passionate about health, but as I've gotten to know myself on a deeper level and as I've gotten to know other humans on a deeper level because of that, I see things from a much deeper lens. And I have, I can't really say what the niche is because I am still kind of establishing that for myself. I've kind of busted through some limiting beliefs with the help of some really great people that I respect and look up to that have challenged me on my skill set. And so I'm still figuring out like exactly who that person is. I know they're out here because I've already established those connections. I have people saying like, yeah, when you get like the infrastructure up, I'm here. But I don't necessarily, I'm not to the point where I feel like I'm going to niche myself down because I think that will come as I open myself up to working with people in this way. I think it was kind of like this realization that I'm not trying to speak of myself highly here because I'm doing work on myself, but
We all are. It's okay.
right. I want to help people from a health level, but I look at health as beyond just like reaching a fat loss goal or helping digestion and energy. Like I see it as like inner harmony, inner balance, and like living a life that lights you up, and feeling fulfilled and vibrant and getting the most out of this life, not laying on your deathbed, unable to move or to connect with people and like laying there with regrets of all the actions we wish we had taken, but we did not. And so before I kind of was just like, I just want to be the best nutrition and fitness coach that I can possibly be. Now I'm like, oh no, I fucking love Mel Robbins. Like that is, I don't know if y'all know who Mel Robbins is, but she is like, I'm obsessed with her. She's like a motivational speaker, podcaster, author, and she just moves people in a way. And I connect with her. She's more like neuroscience and physics, where right now I'm very much in the spiritual realm. But what I've realized is they're exactly the same. People are trying to explain it in different ways. So I am very much into the neuroscience and rewiring, reprogramming, deprogramming. And so I think that now that I've opened myself up to that, the person that I meant to help could be very broad. I just have to kind of get my message very clear. And that's what I'm currently working on. It's
But
just
you
completely lighting me up.
sounds like you're trying to do the nitty, really gritty, dirty, hard opening up
Yeah.
stuff that people
Yeah.
have to deal with that we see every day in the fitness world, but some people aren't ready to go and open up to you about. And so it sounds like you're trying to establish a routine in a way, not a routine, but
Yeah.
just a coaching lifestyle, complete transformation of people to really deal with their stuff, for a lack of a
Yes.
better word. Yeah.
Yes. So I just created my company because I was before just Lauren Elizabeth Coaching. And the name came to me over the past, I don't know, I've been sitting with this. I've been honestly struggling with this since I relaunched my coaching program last year because I came back online after being in the abyss of my own work and was suggested like, don't post about your spirituality, don't post about these things, just post about fat loss, post about nutrition. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel good to me. Like I know these things and I know people want to hear them, but I also know people need to hear something else. Like there's something else. And so I've really struggled with finding what feels very aligned. And just as this has continued, and again, as I've met some people and just kind of seeing the world through a different lens, I've noticed this gap in our industry where we are very much in a masculine energy in like the health and fitness realm. It's like the discipline, the checking the boxes, the suppressing the emotions because we need to get the work done. And then obviously the physical aspect as well. And then you have like the health and wellness girlies, like heal your good and hormones, and here's some fluffy bullshit that feels good, right? It feels good. It's so yeah. Let's wake up and have like hot lemon water and some chlorophyll.
I can't take. I'm not. You don't have that side of the realm over here, so
okay.
But keep trying. Keep trying.
That's what's happening though. Like you have that
1,000%.
side, and I'm like, it might feel good, but it's not. It's not. That's not realistic in terms of getting results and like long term. You know what I mean? Change to me, it's kind of fluffy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying
yeah,
that was spot on. Spot on.
But I see this gap. I'm like, okay, so you've got this side super masculine energy, and you've got this side feminine. To me, I'm like, there's this place in the middle where we can honor and actually tune into our emotions instead of like overcompensating or just ignoring them. And we can also get the things done that we need to do at the end of the day. And again, I think that is kind of like where I will be existing, still using all of the evidence-based, I don't want to say protocols, but all the evidence-based information in terms of training and nutrition and all of that, but then bringing that spirit, that internal world into it, because again, I think that's where a lot of people are trapped. And we know a lot of people that have super shredded bodies that are completely depressed and unfulfilled, right? So I don't want to just get someone to their fat loss goal. I want them to come out of that a completely new and reborn person, someone that has hope, someone that has purpose, someone that has drive, someone that is owning their truth and is in love with their life. I think if we love life, that no matter where we end up, it makes it a great life. So my thoughts.
I will give you some reassurance that if you were listening to whoever the fuck told you to post about diets and fat loss and all that shit, you would not be on this podcast right now. I would have never invited you on here with that shit, because it, just like you said, it's a fucking gimmick. Like it's nonsense. Like there are tools that you can use to improve people's quality of life, but that's like people ask me, they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I improve people's quality of life. Like what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just use strength and conditioning and nutrition and mobility as tools to do so. But the main goal is that your quality of life and your existence here needs to be as good as possible for you to enjoy the experience.
Right. Absolutely. And our physiological needs are the stepping stone to everything else. Like we cannot, if we're not moving our bodies and if we're not fueling our bodies, if we're not managing stress and getting our sleep and all of these things, we're not developing the physical resilience through training, there's no way that we're going to be strong and safe enough, literally, like, and psychologically, to go deep. There's just no way. And I think that's why so many of us that have gotten into this lifestyle and this field of working with people are truly, I mean, I'd say most of us, right? I have hope. I'm not going to say every single one, because I've seen some coaches that are just in it because it's about themselves and money. But I know so many genuine coaches in this space that are exactly as you said, like you see it as so much deeper. You're using that because you're gifted in it and you're knowledgeable in it to help them change their life. I think that's amazing. And to your point about the speaking on that stuff and not being on the podcast, it just goes to show, like, if we walk our own truth, we're going to get where we're going to go. Like, I've always wanted to interact on podcasts. I'm starting my own, hence why I'm breaking in my mic for the first time ever. Because I'm starting a podcast with my friend Carmi, and it's just like all of these things are aligning when you just get the fuck out of your own way and you take care of yourself.
That's fair. 100%.
Disco biscuits, man.
Disco biscuits. Noted.
That needs to be that needs to be the name of the podcast, by the way. Disco biscuits. If it wasn't already,
I wouldn't do that because it's probably trademarked.
Dang, I know, but still, that'd be awesome. Disco biscuits.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a podcast I think like listen to one. Yeah, they're fucking
What if you get the Disco Biscuits on the Disco Biscuits podcast?
yeah. That'd be
Eh,
great.
Disco.
I'm gonna meet them one day. Like,
You're
I'm
gonna have to do
already
some
thinking
outreach there,
this.
Nathan.
Well, hey, if you start the podcast, I mean, shoot your shot. The worst they're gonna say is no, or just leave you on red. So like, whatever.
Right, absolutely.
That happens
This
a lot.
coming from the guy who didn't like to ask anybody on the podcast for the longest time.
Dude, you know why? Because I am not, and this is not an exaggeration, the first 8 people I asked left me on red. And I'm just
oh my God, 8 people left you on red? Whatever
on.
would you do with 8 no's?
Well, no, because then it was like, you came back with like, I got this person. I got this person. I got this person. I was like, all right, whatever. You
I don't
ask
give
them.
a fuck, dude. It doesn't matter. If they tell me no, fine. I'll find someone else.
I don't
give a
either.
shit.
I don't care anymore. It's whatever.
Like, it's like,
That was,
I don't know.
hey, that was 63 episodes ago. We're fine. We're different people now. We're growing. We're changing. Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten lazier and you've gotten more motivated.
We're no longer caterpillars, buddy. Dude, all I could think about, no offense.
I'm a moth.
The
when
fucking
you-
bug's life?
That's what I feel like.
A bug's life? And you
No.
say, I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I had a 5th grade teacher. We did the whole, we raised caterpillars until butterflies in our classroom. Like we did the whole, and we charted them and watched their growth and all that stuff and learned about it. So literally that whole time you were sitting there, I'm just reminiscing about 5th grade science class all over again when you're giving your butterfly spiel. So I was like,
Do you guys ever do the mealworm thing? I remember doing that in middle
the
school.
mealworm?
Yeah, we'd give mealworms. I don't know what the fuck. I don't remember what the purpose was.
I don't remember
Now
that.
I think about it, but we had mealworms basically in class. It was like a science experiment. And like, how fucked are we as humans? Like, yeah, we're just gonna take these things and turn them into our experiments.
Yeah, it's weird.
We dissected a
I,
lot of things, but no.
I did not do the mealworm thing. We did do the butterfly thing. I have always loved animals. And for whatever reason, the teachers that I had in like elementary school and middle school, they always had like school pets. And at the end of the year, 2 years in a row, they gave me their pets. So I like came home with them. I came home with them. I guess I convinced my mom. So I like got 3 gerbils one time, which I will never fucking get gerbils again. I spent some time working with like in a pet store and with exotic animals, and like the rodents are pretty gross.
Can't wait to see what kind of animals your kid comes home with eventually. It's gonna be fucking full circle.
That's karma.
I'm well aware. I am
Like,
well
hey mom, I
aware.
got this lizard. Check this out. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Gerbils, hermit crabs. It was just, I'm like, what the?
Maybe I'll get a snake. Maybe that's what I'll bring.
Yeah, snakes are fucking cool. I unintentionally got a Burmese python one time, not realizing that they grow. They grow.
You're one of these people in Florida that gets a python and then lets it out because it gets too big, aren't you? You're that person.
I was
No.
when I was 20, I think. I always get the time is just so fucking weird. But I think when I was like 19, 20, I dated a dude that was like, he had a pet store, but it was an exotic animal pet store. And I overcame my fear of snakes. And actually now like snakes are really cool to me in terms of like their symbolism and everything as well. But yeah, so I lived in a house. We had 27 snakes. Most of them were venomous. I had to learn how to handle venomous snakes. I've killed a cobra. Fucking, I'm so happy I did that and didn't die. But yeah, the Burmese python, we went to some reptile expo and he was like, I got a snake that you like, as I was overcoming my fear of snakes. And I picked out one that had a cute little pink head. And I was like, oh, he's cute. I'm gonna name him Mojo. He's like this big. And I'm in the car and he's like, by the way, it's a Burmese python. And I was like, what does that mean? I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, like he grew to be like, I think it was like, I don't know, last time I checked, like 13, 14 feet, but he uses them for education. And it's really cool because at first I was like, okay, this is literally Tiger King. Like it got a little bit out of hand. The ego got involved. There were swans stolen from Orlando Millennium Park. He went to court. It was a lot. It truly was like people kind of get trapped in that ego of being like, I have these exotic animals. I'm unlike anybody else. But
did you have any tigers?
No, but he does have them now, which is fucking kind of cool to see because he doesn't do it like it doesn't have like a pet store. I think maybe he has like birds or something. And I'll leave my own opinion of pet stores out of this because I've developed obviously as a person and I feel bad for the person.
They're probably worse than zoos, aren't they?
I mean, the thing I will say that from what I know, what I have heard, he always did take really good care of things. I just like, to me, I'm like, breeding animals for profit is like kind of sad. Um, but he has a sanctuary. So he gets rescues from zoos or from homes that I've like got exotic animals and then realized they're an exotic animal. I can't fucking care for this. It's gonna try to eat me. So I haven't been out to the sanctuary. I haven't seen him in over a decade, but the last I checked, like he has all of it. I mean, we had lemurs, monkeys, parrots, cockatoos, alligator, fox. There's so much already there. And now he's just done it on a big scale where he has a bunch of land and he's now like rescuing animals from all over the world, which I think is super fucking dope. So I'm glad he found his way, but there was definitely a part in there that was like full on Tiger King and like ridiculous.
Could have went either way. Glad he turned out to go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything has its opposite, right?
We could have seen a Netflix series about this guy.
I was very surprised when Tiger King dropped. I'm like, I know he's gonna be on this bitch. Like I know, and he was not. But 3 people that he knows that I met while in that world were like he knew Mario that lives down in Miami. We went down there and played with the Ligers and all of that. Which Mario's a super cool dude. He was like a cocaine cowboy back in the day. Spent a long time in prison. Came out and then just like basically did a sanctuary thing.
With ligers, what the fuck? The biggest animal ever created, basically.
Yeah. I played with the cubs. I did not play with the full grown. But yeah, they they don't treat them as pets. They honor the fact that they're wild creatures and they just try to replicate, unfortunately, we obviously can't just create savannas for them. But yeah, it sounds like he's doing good work and I'm proud of him for evolving.
No, even the safari thing at Disney World, which is like the coolest animal thing that you can go to, the fucking lions are stuck on a rock in the middle of the thing and they're like not doing anything. You can tell they're all pissed off. Like I'd be mad too if I didn't get to do anything.
I know. I lived in Houston for a few years and there was like this tiger, I think it was a tiger. I think it was. That was just like in the smallest enclosure and they just use it as a tourist trap. And then there's like a place I think I want to say it's in Louisiana or something, but you can see it from the road. There's this big billboard and it's essentially just a stop where a tiger lives in a cage. And it just makes me so incredibly sad. So I'm like, that is not the life that they were born to live. And it also makes me think about humanity as well and just kind of challenging myself on like, if we have the freedom and the sovereignty to live an uncaged life, despite the fact that we're kind of put into one from the second we pop out of the womb, like if we have the advantage of freedom, why not fucking use it to the best of our ability instead of taking it for granted and wasting away? Sorry, that was deep.
No, you're good. I'm just over here thinking like how much freedom we don't actually have, but we're made to believe we do.
See, I'll challenge you on that. I know that we obviously do have like limitations, but I think that we're honestly, everyone talks about escaping the matrix, right? Like, oh, escape the matrix, like these people, the government, blah, 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 blah. I think we're the matrix.
Alex.
I think we're the fucking matrix. I think that while obviously we can't just like, obviously we can't just like turn into like some other thing, but I think in terms of what we can accomplish in this life and what we can experience, if we lift the veils of programming and limiting beliefs, I think we're more powerful than we actually realize we are. And I honestly think it's very terrifying if we actually start to open up our mind to that possibility. I think we're born naturally capable of doing a lot more than we think we are. And I don't even mean that like on a physical, I mean like metaphysically. And I don't think we're just not raised to actually know that.
I would agree with you on that 110%. And what I mean by not being free is that even if you own a house, you pay taxes on that property, so you don't own shit.
Yeah.
Like there is no such thing as being free because the government is going to take their chunk. But yes, if we were to get rid of the government, we could be free 100%.
New Earth. We're working on it. We're working.
Trying, hopefully.
It's going to take a complete collapse of humanity to get us anywhere. So
well, we're knocking on the door, so we're not far away. But to go deeper down this rabbit hole, what are your thoughts on reincarnation?
Reincarnation. I think that I believe that we are stuck in a reincarnation loop, personally. I think that we are not meant to be, but I think we get trapped. And I go back and forth personally under the belief that if we think about dark and light, like one can't exist without the other. And because I believe in collective consciousness, I feel like we choose, I don't want to say that we choose everything in life, but I think that maybe predestined in terms of what we're wanting to experience, what our soul is. Because if we're just fucking energy, like that would probably be kind of boring and lonely, like sitting out there for infinity. So I'm like, okay, what if we chose to come to Earth to experience living in a body and having senses and learning and loving and all of these things? Like it's a very short blip when we think about infinity. But that being said, because everything has an equal and polar opposite, and there's dark and light, I'm like, did we choose? Like, is this all? I'm trying to put this into words. Did we create the illusion of separation? Did we create the dark and the light? And with that being said, on the flip side, if we did not, and there are actual dark forces here, evil forces, whatever you want to call them, there's also that note of like, did they somehow harness our energy and get us trapped to where we're just in this incarnation loop and they're like feeding off of our fucking energy? So I think there's multiple theories, and I personally haven't arrived at what I feel like is absolute truth, because how can we fucking know, right? But I think we do reincarnate until we evolve. And it's like, how much work are we going to do to get the fuck out of here? And do we want to get out of here? Because at the end of the day, like, we don't know what is beyond. We keep, like, we're told in religion, heaven and hell. I think heaven and hell is here. How do we create heaven on earth? How do we create hell on earth for ourselves? Like, I think there's a lot of different ways we can think about that, but like kind of roping it back to the question, I do believe in reincarnation. And I also believe in evolution and getting out of it. Apparently, if you look up at the light as you're passing through, that's what gets you sucked back in and dropped back into Earth. But I don't know that for sure.
That's a beautiful thing. Nobody does. That's why
exactly.
Talking to religious people, I'm like, well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
maybe I'm right. Maybe you're wrong. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Yep.
But basically, you think you're stuck in the loop until you figure it out, and then maybe you get to get out of the loop.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I think people can sometimes, and I've definitely been there. I've entered like states of what I believe to be like spiritual psychosis, and I used to fight them. And now I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like ride this out, like see what I may be receiving insights on. And I think we can sometimes spend a lot of time getting stuck instead of just being like, we don't fucking know. So just fulfill your purpose. Just be a kind human being, do the work. Because at the end of the day, we should probably detach from all outcomes, right? Like, it's annoying when we're working with a client and they're always like, I lost 2 pounds this week. I only lost 1 pound. I'm supposed to be losing 10 in a month. And it's like, what? Chill out, bro. Like, detach from the outcome. And I think we need to detach a little bit from the outcome of like what we do when this life ends, and get more present, get more fucking grounded in reality, and be really good humans and fucking achieve what you want to achieve and help others do the same thing and have a fucking good time, man.
Almost like you're supposed to enjoy the process and not worry about the outcome.
There you go. I feel like everything connects. It all falls back on each other. I think the way that we can look at health and fitness is the way we can look at life, and it's the way we can look at relationships. Like, when you zoom out and you're able to kind of see things from that lens, life is life, and everything falls back on itself.
As one of my athletes likes to tell me, it always works out. And I'm like, fucking yeah, you're right.
It does. It does. Do you believe we have complete free will, or do you believe that we are walking a destined path?
Well, it depends on how deep you want to go into your subconscious. Because if you go into the subconscious deep enough, there is no such thing as free will. It's all been pre-programmed for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Nathan over here is the religious one, so he's the one that could give us insight.
Religious one. Calm down.
Yeah. Well, you are. Are you not? Don't tell me to calm down when you're the only one in this conversation.
I
That
would
believes in a
believe.
God.
I would believe yes that we all are predestined with free will. I think we all have free will. I think that based on the creator that I believe in, I believe that there's a multitude of choices that are laid out in front of you, that are already seen by this creator, already imagined by this creator, already whatever, because they're omnipotent. They can see infinite. And so I think based on your free will and your choices, that just keeps putting you on whatever path of free will that you continue to choose. Because ultimately the God that I believe in wants you to choose him, right? Wants you to choose him, wants you to follow him, wants you to believe in him, wants you to believe that he died for you. And so ultimately your free will should lead you to him, which creates a separate relationship and a very special and unique relationship, obviously, because you're willing to choose. There's infinite results that you could choose, but you're going to choose him because he created you, saved you, and wants to have and desires a relationship with you. So that's what I believe. But
I mean, I guess I'm almost there. It's just I don't believe in there's one God. It's the fact that there's an infinite amount of possibilities because there's an infinite amount of universes. There's an infinite amount of views.
Yeah.
And whatever you choose brings about whatever one of those is the one that comes forth.
I feel like this is always our hang up. We always get to the same, we're always in the same spot. And then it's just always like, there's not one dude.
Thing.
Yeah. It's always just, there's not one dude. Yeah.
It's not a dude. It's an energy source, if anything. And you know what it could be? Ironically enough, could be the mushrooms.
You stoned ape theory. Get out of here, bro.
Do you know about the stoned ape theory?
I have heard it. It's not coming to my mind. If you'd like to refresh me.
Oh.
Right. So Terrence McKenna, are you familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
So when he would take these heroic doses of mushrooms, he would sit in the complete dark and he would take at least 5 grams at a time. And he said that the mushrooms would speak to him. And like part of that was that they told him they came here for us, type of thing. And the stoned ape theory goes that there is a point in time where our brains doubled in size and they can't explain how or why. It also happens to coincide with the same time on the earth when these wetlands started to dry up and these apes had to come out of the trees to find food. And well, one thing that they would find is mushrooms under these cow patties, for example, or just out in nature. And what Terrence McKenna and his brother experienced in the Amazon when they ate nothing but mushrooms for weeks at a time is they started to formulate languages and they started to formulate all these crazy things that maybe didn't exist before and could explain how our brains would be able to start conceiving language and different concepts. Mm-hmm. And so like the stoned ape theory is like monkeys ate enough mushrooms long enough that they evolved into us.
Yeah. I have heard that story. I could not remember it off the top of my head. I honestly love and appreciate this conversation because I think we all three have either different or slightly different kind of beliefs or perceptions. And I love getting and hearing other people's perceptions. And I think no matter what, just like we were talking about, like what's after this life, what's before this life, how we got here, it's really cool to think about and to talk about and to hear about. But again, I'm like, it's not important to me where I came from because I'm like, I got stuff to do here.
We don't know. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's like, but to me, I'm like that unknown. Cause like, there's the stoned ape theory. There is, Adam and Eve. There is, the Anunnaki theory as well. The aliens.
Oh, I got one that's close to that I heard on Rogan. That's absolutely terrifying.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Apparently Earth is just a soul farm for the aliens.
I've heard that theory.
What? Oh, please do tell. I've not heard this.
So, coincidentally, there wasn't reports of aliens visiting us until we started making nuclear bombs. And ironically, what do nuclear bombs pose a threat of? Getting rid of all of us. So the theory goes is that we are just a farm of souls and that they use our souls for whatever they use them for and that they're keeping tabs on us to make sure that we don't fucking destroy everyone. Like a quick summary of that.
Oh, man.
I don't think we are here to be. Personally, I think it's a very interesting theory. you know, the Anunnaki. I have a book. I cannot remember. Is it in here or is it in my room? But it's a book called DNA of the Gods, and it's about Anunnaki and like that, basically the people that were here before us. And then there's also Tartaria. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tartaria, but like basically the world that was here before us. The thing is, these are all theories, right? Nothing that we can like say is true. And again, does it matter? As long as someone I think as long as you have faith in something, you gotta have faith. You know what I'm saying? You just have to have fucking faith. I think religions, at the end of the day, I think they're all trying to say the same thing. Just like quantum physics is trying to explain spirituality, and at the end of the day, it's like, again, everything is it's all the same. And I think if we can get to that place of like honoring someone's individual perspective and belief and faith, like to me, I'm like, I could walk into a church, I could walk into a mosque, and I'm like here to connect with people in love. And I think that's what it comes down to. But I also think it's very fun and entertaining to be able to have open conversations and share different perspectives and theories. And I just think this world needs a little bit more open-mindedness and just acceptance of the individuality. Yeah.
It's
we need the psilocybin.
no, that
Just
won't
put it in the tap water.
No, you're not gonna get the Christians to take your psilocybin. Sorry about it.
Ironically, you know, they did a study with them and giving them psilocybin, and 9 out of 10 of them reported having a holy experience with God inside the church. So maybe you can.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying in my neck of the woods, these Christians, that ain't happening, homie. It's not happening.
You just don't tell them.
Yeah, just give it to them in there. Like when we do, we just do remembrance.
100%.
We do communion together, and we just put it in their little pieces of bread. And
I'm just gonna say this: that when you have mushroom tea, it's some of the most effective ways to do it, and you cannot taste it if you do it right.
That is me most Friday nights. Yeah, mushroom tea is definitely my preferred source. Eating them dry is just fucking shit.
Oh, it's so bad. I gag so bad. I have to put them in sandwiches. Like I've done Chick-fil-A, peanut butter and jelly. So like when I go to Red Rocks, I'll bring peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. People are like, can I have one of these? I'm like, let me get the right one for you. Hold on.
Yeah.
One moment.
Yeah, tea's definitely the way to go. And if you use it with lemon as well, that gives you some vitamin C, a little bit. It helps to like break it down. And then
you don't want a lot of it?
Yeah. And then I usually make it with like a ginger tea bag, some lemon, honey.
Have you ever done it fasted? Have you ever fasted all day and then done it?
Yeah, I think they're so intriguing the way that they interact based on like our like what is in our stomach. My favorite, for not like a higher dose trip, but my favorite is to get up in the morning, go just like move my body some. I usually will just do like a quick full body workout, and then go out to the woods and do about like 1.5 to 2. And it's such an, I don't even know, it's just a different experience than just like sitting inside under a sleep mask or under a blanket. But that's the only time I'll ever do really fasted.
Nature is by far the best, for sure.
So good.
100%.
So good. Yeah.
That's where like Red Rocks is like this weird combination of being in nature, and then you have obviously the music aspect of it, that like there's layers upon layers to explore, and then there's people to watch, which just gets really fucking weird because every time I've done it around people who are shit-faced, they appear to be the ugliest human beings I've ever seen in my life, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It is wild. Like the shape shifting is wild with the visuals. A lot of people say like, don't look in the mirror. I like to be out in nature. That's number one.
I mean, when your face melts, you're not supposed to watch.
But I'll be out in nature and like I can look at my skin and I'm like, I see through. Like I see the veins, I see everything, and it's such an uncomfortable vision. But I'm like, this is so cool to be able to see it. But I personally like also looking in the mirror. It is terrifying because I see myself as human. I see myself as not human. I see myself as like some ancient tribal person, and I shift from like a child to like 150-year-old person. And then I'm just not a person at all. I'm some other being. And it's, again, the people, I get it why someone would say like, don't look in the mirror, but like if you can.
At least not the first time. You should probably be a little more experienced. I watched my cousin turn into like the Steve Buscemi character from Monsters Inc. one time, and then like turn into like a mermaid. I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. But one thing I've noticed about nature is you can see everything like breathing
Yes.
and like is actually alive. Like that's fucking trippy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. Or like you go into a place that has like stone walls and they'll like start moving and breathing at the same time too. And I'm like, all right, well, I think they're working.
Yeah. I think nature, even when I go out, because I go outside most days, and just without anything in my system, because I've experienced that, I now have a newfound view on nature because I know that that experience for me was, it was real. I really saw it. And I think that's what's kind of cool about psilocybin and psychedelics in general is like, you're not blacking out during the experience. So you can take that with you. And again, like integrate what you're learning or seeing, or just kind of remember what you actually saw. And so I feel like my connection with nature has completely changed and deepened because of them. But the breathing thing I think is so neat. And just overall the heightened senses, like the hearing, eyesight, like just you're sensing, like you said, seeing energy from across the room, feeling the energy. I I get so many insights where I'm like, okay, this tree, I'm having a conversation with it right now. Like I'm full blown, we're in conversation and it's so neat. And I think it also teaches us a lot. But the breathing is cool. And then just like I've been out there at dusk when it's starting to get dark and I can see the tiniest bug. Like my eyesight is like the best eyesight that a human can have. It's beyond fathomable. And I know that those are real bugs because I'm like getting like I will see it and but it's wild, absolutely wild. And I think the trees and just nature in general. I remember last year, I do every single year, I kind of go out. It's a ritual for my birthday. And I spend the day out there in my favorite park. And it has suspension bridges. Like it looks like you just got dropped off in the middle of Jurassic Park. And I spend the day out there alone. And last year, I just had this moment at the end. I was coming back into my body and just like super grateful for everything, just like covered in like scratches and twigs. And like I almost had a fight. A truck, and I was a crocodile, I was an alligator, but there was a journey. And I looked up at the tree and I just was like expressing, obviously without verbally talking. And I realized the reason why I like nature so much is because it is just accepting. Like you can sit with it and be your rawest, most vulnerable self. And the trees are just there. They're not judging. They're just there to receive you. And I think we could be a little bit more like nature for other humans. That would be really fantastic. Because yeah, she's just there. And I think that's like our relationship with God or source consciousness. Like it's just like this. I think we're all just love at the end of the day. I think that's what energy is. It's just love. So if we can be more patient, more accepting, not so judgmental, and even just listening to people, you notice people are so quick to like get their response out. Like they hear 5 seconds of what you say, and immediately you can see them computing a response. It's like just let that person receive them. Just receive them. Don't put your projections on them. Don't put your beliefs on them. Don't make it about you. Just stand there and receive it like a fucking tree, man. Disco biscuits, mushrooms.
That would also require ego death, though. That's the
Yeah.
part that most people are not very good about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I enjoy this because it's like I'm the podcast part too. Like when we have guests on, especially people that I don't have the same walk of life or anything like that. I'm just like I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit here and listen because they're either way smarter than me or have experienced life in a way different manner. So what do I have to interject or tell them that they're right or wrong? You know what I mean? We're all we have too much of that in the world too. I feel like it's just everyone wants to be right or wrong. It's like or we could just talk to each other again because we don't do that anymore. We don't get in a room and just talk about anything anymore. That's why we're in such bad shape, I feel like. But
yeah, I agree with you. It's that cognitive dissonance. I think because we're given these options of like left, right, wrong, black, white, light, dark, like that like really we're all kind of all of it. But because we're given these two options, then it creates that separation again, that illusion of separation. And then it also creates a disconnection from self, because if we're all of everything, but now we're like, part of me's this and part of me's that. And
Yeah.
it's like, why can't we just be?
We're just people. Like, why can't we just be people? Yeah.
Yeah.
If only they understood that it's a round spectrum and that you just fall somewhere on the spectrum and you can move around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just love everybody, man. That's what the code you live by.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, ideally.
Hey, I try to. I'm not saying I do. I
definitely don't.
It's in that book I try to read. So, love people like you love yourself. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as
people
yourself.
don't love themselves, I think, is part of the issue.
That I got in a conversation with someone the other day. I'm like, yeah, but do you love yourself? So it's like, if you're self-reciprocating what you're feeling to other people, then obviously you're not dishing out a lot of love. So you got to learn how to embrace how you feel about yourself first before you can reciprocate that. So
that's terrifying, Nathan. That
sounds
like way too scary of a thing to do.
To self-reflect?
Yeah. Why do you think there's so many distractions in the world?
You know why I think I get so stuck in business all the time and what I do and with my gym and with my job? It's because I self-reflect too much, and I'm just like, oh.
Do you think that's really a thing?
I think it can be if you get stuck, where you're just doing the compare. It's more of not a self-reflection, but you reflect so much that you start comparing, and you're like, oh, now I'm this, and this. And it's like, no, you're not. So stop. Go back to what made you who you are, and then everything else that flows from that is what'll be success. But self-reflection can be.
You could be whatever you wanted to be. You just have to believe it and do it.
Also fair. True.
I resonate with what both of you said. I think I definitely have found myself in states of deep self-reflection constantly, where it's like, am I actually connected to the present, like grounded? And I think the mind is a very beautiful thing. It can also be a very terrifying thing, depending on what we're willing to actually see. But to Alex's point, like, if science has proven that we have all these basically infinite dimensions, and we're on a microsecond, like we can't even see this, actually fully understand it, but like we're constantly like shifting to these things, like on a microsecond basis. We have between 15 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And with every single one of them, we're like, jump, 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 jump. And I think it's incredible, because then again, it kind of goes back to the power that we actually have over our own lives. But if we get stuck in the thoughts and we're not doing the things out here, then we're essentially like not accomplishing what we actually could. But I think we can be whatever we want to be. Like, obviously at this point, if I was just like, I'm going to be a Harlem Globetrotter, like that's unrealistic. But besides that, I think that there's like the things that I see in my mind for myself or for my life. If I can see that, I think there's a logical side, and I also think there's something beyond logic. Again, it could go down to physics. But that part that's existing somewhere. So it's like, can I tap into it? Can I think like that? Can I breathe like that? And therefore, can I bring it into my reality? And I think if we can actually get super clear on what it is that we truly, truly want, and establish what we're willing to do to get there and what we're not, and also be willing to kind of get rid of the beliefs and everything that may be holding us back, we can do whatever we want.
Yes, agreed. No,
yeah.
That's what I try to get people to understand. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
yeah, I lead, like I have always done this for myself, and I started doing it with clients too. And it seems to be very impactful, but depending on the person, obviously, like the situation, everything, I will lead them through like a visualization exercise, where so just side note, during my own healing journey, I went to yoga and meditation school because I thought that I wanted to teach it. So I like got the personal training first, and then was called to go to yoga and meditation school. Didn't actually complete it, because what I realized along the way, like all I had to do was go to this virtual retreat and then teach it to get my certification. I didn't want to teach it at all. Like I was like, this is actually like not something I want to do every single day. And I just learn best by learning in that format. If I can learn to teach, then it resonates and kind of gets more integrated. And that's how I understand. That's how I learn. So I was like, okay, I'm not meant to teach this. I'm supposed to learn these things about myself, because it's what introduced me to energy and duality, non-duality, and all that stuff that essentially aided in my own journey. But it also gave me some tools in the tool belt. And I was always somebody who kind of resisted meditation or just like sitting in general alone. I was just like always on the go, trying to distract myself. So it taught me the stillness. And for that, I'm very, very grateful to have gone that route, even if I didn't end up turning it into a job. And who knows, it may be something that I eventually go back and complete to incorporate with my clients. But I learned that with them, something I'm currently, again, distraction, but what I am working on with them is that visualization. So like actually like sitting and allowing ourselves to get into a calm state and closing our eyes, visualizing their goal, like whether that is a health goal or something beyond that, because I care about them succeeding in other areas of their life too. So they kind of get really clear on what it is that they want. And then I help guide them to get into like the feeling of that. So how do you feel when you are, when you achieve this performance goal or this aesthetic goal for yourself or this job? And by them tapping into that feeling and really getting into it, they're actually changing their vibration to the timeline, the version of them that is doing that. So then they start to think, act, live, breathe that way. And that helps them to get into that. So when people talk about like quantum shifting and all of that stuff, I think it's super neat, but it's not like you can just close your eyes, having a feeling all of a sudden I'm living in Bali, right? Like there's actual physical steps we have to do here. And again, that's where I think the pendulum is always swinging. And there are people who are very woo woo, and I would consider myself to be pretty woo woo, but I'm also very grounded in like the neuroscience behind it and like how it helps us. And I think we need to bring more practicality to the plan. It's not just like closing our eyes and here we are, but it's tapping that feeling. Who is that person? Be that person, walk the path, and you'll get whatever the end result is.
Almost like the whole fake it till you make it thing has a much deeper meaning if you learn to understand what they're talking about when they say that.
Yeah. And I love that you just said fake it till you make it, because I just thought of I want to give credit to the person who I heard this from. I'm all about authenticity. I don't care if I come across as a hot mess or with my shit together, because all of those things exist within me and I give myself space to express myself in the moment. I obviously have time where I'm very direct and I'm a leader, and then I have times where I'm like completely my inner child and I'm just a little free being. But the authenticity thing I think is very important to just the value of mine. It's the value of people that I bring into my life. And I heard somebody explain essentially what you just said, faking it till you make it. And I believe that we create an alter ego sometimes to help us overcome a fear, especially if somebody's battling with imposter syndrome. That's a whole other subject on its own. But if somebody is feeling like an imposter and it's holding them back, I'm like, create an alter ego for yourself. Like get a necklace, get a pair of glasses, and think about that alter ego and how they would show up. Really, what they're doing is they're just tapping into a different version of themselves without the limiting beliefs and the fear. And once they establish the comfortability in that version, then they can essentially just merge the two. But also pretending. I used to be like, people, why would somebody pretend? I'm like, alter ego is kind of like that, but it's not. Because again, it's just establishing the version of yourself and uncaging yourself. But pretend, the word pretend is actually to pre-claim when you break down what the word means. So to your point, if those versions of you are existing and all we have to do is just do it, be the person to do the things to get it, then pretending is required. Faking it till you make it is required. And it's not that anybody's really faking it. It's just that you're pre-claiming it. Like you're like, this is mine. I'm doing the things. So I'm going to pretend to be that person. But essentially it's been you all along. Fucking
Yep.
wild.
That's another thing that I always stuck with me from what Rogan will say is that be the hero of your own movie. Like if you live your life like you're the hero of your own movie every day, well, then you will start attracting those qualities that you want to be that person, and you'll start doing the things that it takes to be that person. And surely enough, over time, that will become your life as a movie.
Yeah, agreed.
What hero would you pick, Alex? What hero would you be in what movie?
My own hero. What the fuck are you talking
Okay,
about?
but like if you could compare, like, okay, if you had, I see what you're saying, but I'm saying like, what hero would? I'm trying to think like
The
what
hero's
hero.
journey is the hero's journey
Yeah,
because
but
that's
what-
what everybody wants to go through, right?
what-
Like you want to go through the trials and tribulations and the growth to become the best version of yourself.
trying to
That's
think-
just what it is.
I'm trying to think
And
what
each person's
movie
going to
you'd
look
be.
different because it's going to be their own individual journey.
What movie would closely represent your hero story though? I'm trying to think. Maybe Conan the Barbarian. You could just be Conan out there.
Probably not.
No, I know what you're saying though. I could just see it. Can you see Alex with a giant great sword? Anyway, okay, carry on.
I mean, I have good hair, so I could have a flowing mane. That's the thing.
Wow, can I picture you with Conan hair? Oh yeah, yep. Okay, Conan the Barbarian. It is.
Probably not though.
Oh man. Well, we've been going for about an hour and a half now. I'm blown away, fascinated by a lot of things that you said. Do you have anything, Alex? Do you have any other questions, or Lauren? Do you have anything else that you'd want to kind of discuss or go over or talk about, or any
How do
more?
people get a hold of you for coaching?
Yeah.
If they want to go down this rabbit hole with you.
Yeah, I invite anybody, everybody is welcome to go down the rabbit hole if they choose it. Just be willing to face yourself and kick some ass. You can find me on Instagram at Lauren with 2 N's .ElizabethX. I would love to get my website, but it's currently in the process. So I can't share that right now. But find me on Instagram, DM me, and I'd love to get into conversations with people. I don't really have anything else left to add other than
Well, we'll definitely link your. I'll link your Instagram in the description below. If you guys haven't, go follow Lauren. If you're listening and you made it this far, hopefully you made it this far. Awesome podcast today. Super great conversation with Lauren today. So Lauren, we again thank you for your time and thank you for spending it with us today on this Wednesday.
Thank you. Y'all are awesome. It was an amazing opportunity to sit down and chat with you guys. So thank you for your time as well.
Awesome. Well, you
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Fantastic
And
rest of your day.
Thanks to Aram, because I would have never known who you were if it wasn't for that conference. So
I know he's an amazing dude.
Shout out. Is this a real Coaches Summit plug right here? Is this it?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
that's how we have to do that every time, because most of our
true.
guests from now on are probably going to be from that.
That's very
Yeah.
true. Very true. All right. Awesome. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.